going on YouTube, Facebook, subscribers, viewers of this video? This is Bill Mack here with Pro Wrestling Unleashed. Yes, folks, I am here with Impact Wrestling Wrap-Up. Yeah, this was for May 25th, 2017's edition. Just in case you happen to miss this, you missed the show, I'm here to give you the results of it, as I try to as many shows as I possibly can. Sorry, sometimes I end up getting busy. I get a little bit behind, but trust me, folks, I try to pump out as much as I can for you as often as I possibly can. So Impact Wrestling keeps getting a little bit better as the storylines are getting solid. You're getting some stability to it now, and you're actually getting some crowd response from the people actually there. So things are starting to take little by little. You know, the Impact needs little by little in order for them to continue on to grow and prosper as a company. But we'll get right into the results of this past Thursday night's edition of Impact Wrestling. Now, we see Bruce Pritchard coming down to the ring along with Titus, and wonder why is Tyrus with him. He got attacked last week by EC3, and he said that once he got in the ring that he was going to have protection, and the fact that he wasn't going to allow anything like this to happen. You can't put your hands on management. That won't be tolerated, so he has protection with him now. So we get basically all three contenders for tonight's triple threat number one contendership for who wins the right to go to Slammiversary in July and face Bobby Lashley for the Impact World Heavyweight title. We can see him going back and forth between Magnus, EC3, and James Storm. Bobby Lashley's in the ring. And we see the Bruce Pritchard says, we're going to do this. We're going to make tonight's matchup a no DQ match. No matter, let anything go. But if you touch each other before the match, you will be suspended and you will not be allowed to participate in the match. So we basically see Bobby Lashley in the corner as EC3 is trying to taunt James Storm and hit him, which, you know, he's not going to do. It would be foolish to do that. So that's how we start off the show. We begin with our first tag team matchup of the night. We have Congo Kong teaming up with KM, taking on Braxton Sutter and Shera. Remember, we had this. Shera came in to assist and help Braxton Sutter last week. We had the tag team matchup. Now, this match, we saw Congo Kong and KM making a lot of quick tags, cutting the ring half off, and they were working on Shera for the most part of this matchup. We see at different points in time in different spots. At one point where we see KM miss a top rope splash onto Braxton Sutter, which he was Shera, which he was able to get out of the way of it, make the tag to Braxton Sutter. Braxton Sutter went in, and then we seen basically he tried to do a flying neck breaker off the top, got a 2 count for that. Then we get to see Allie and Sienna and Laura Van Ness, which she's still a hot mess as they call her. They've been kind of going back and forth. Then we see finally Sienna and Laura Van Ness running to the ring, chasing after Allie. Allie goes into the ring, and then she ends up doing a flying cross body on both Laura Van Ness and Sienna, which takes them out. Then we see basically KM gets the roll up pin and with the holding on to the tights. And we see 1, 2, 3, Congo Kong, and we see Congo Kong and KM pick up the win. We see that because they had basically after the match, they had all 4 of the guys had brawled to the back, up the ramp and to the out. But we seen that was left in the ring with Sienna and Laura Van Ness and Allie, and they all both were double teaming her and beating her down, which they did the previous week. And the crowd was really booing them for this. All of a sudden, Rosemary's music hits, and surprised to see Rosemary come in of all people because we haven't seen her since, remember, a few weeks to Decay. You know, Crazy Steve left, so we hadn't seen much of Rosemary as of late. But she came in and she shot, and everybody thought that she was going to help Laura Van Ness and help Sienna, but she ended up shooting the green mist in Sienna's eyes, and she gets Laura Van Ness, and she ends up kind of letting Allie know that she helped her. You know, she was there for her, and in her own twisted way, and she eventually leaves out of the ring. So nice little spot. Good to see at least Rosemary back once again after being absent for a little while due to the funeral of the Decay, and since Decay is no more because of Crazy Steve leaving, and Abyss is now Joseph Park, which is of course JB's lawyer. So we see this. We did our next matchup we have is for the Global Force Tag Team Title Tournament. We're in the semis right now. Remember, LAX won, so they're in the finals. Now they're awaiting who wins this matchup. Tonight we see Fallah Bahh and Mario Bokara and versus the VOW, which we know is Wilcox and Mayweather. Basically, VOW dominated Baraka. He took a lot of Bokara. I had that name earlier, and I was listening to it. I was like, I got to remember that name. But Bakara, and he showed a little offense. Fallah Bahh did quite a little bit of offense on against VOW, but VOW was just way too strong for him in this matchup. And we ended up seeing Mayweather end up kicking Ball on the outside, and the VOW ends up hitting their move, the MOAB, and they end up getting the pin 1, 2, 3. So they win the right to face LAX for the Global Force Wrestling Championship, Tag Team Championship next week. So we'll look forward to seeing that matchup because VOW looks pretty strong. Wilcox and Mayweather, very strong guys. So then they cut to a segment where Magnus is basically, and they're asking him about tonight's triple threat. And he said, hey, the triple threat favors a cerebral one. I'm a cerebral one. I have the three of us tonight, and I'm going to end up beginning that number one contendership match. I'm going to win it tonight. I'm going to take that golden ticket, and I'm going to go, and I'm going to win go to fight Bobby Lashley and get the Impact Wrestling Heavyweight Championship. So, little segment there. All of a sudden, we see Josh Matthews coming into the ring, and they go to commercial. We come back, and he comes out, and he calls JB to the ring, and he's telling him, look, I grew up liking Jim Ross. I idolized him. I got things right with Sharp Boy. I've done this, and I've done that. I want to offer you an apology, which Pope and nobody else really is buying Josh out of all the turmoil that we've had. This prompts out Joseph Park to come out. He gets in Josh's face, and he tells Josh, look, we're going to fight. We're not going to wait until Slammiversary. We're going to fight now. So he starts taking his tie off and taking his jacket off, and then all of a sudden, Josh says, look, my partner will be here at any time, any point when he's ready for it. All of a sudden, we hear a siren going off. Lo and behold, guess who's making his surprise appearance back? Who's going to be indeed Josh's partner at Slammiversary? None other than Big Papa Pump, Scott Steiner. Look well into seeing that, and looks like it's going to be a good matchup. Here, Joseph Park is they played like scared, and they were running away when Scott Steiner went out there, and he ended up putting Joseph Park in the Steiner recliner in the ring. He had his jacket on, which means he's probably not as big as he used to be. Usually that's what kind of thing you see, because usually guys, when they're still built, just much like we seen Goldberg when he came back, he was still getting him back in shape, and he had his jacket on. Scott Steiner went out there with his jacket on. He put the Steiner recliner on with his jacket on, and so you can see kind of a difference with that. JB gets chased back out, so when JB leaves, we end up seeing Josh come, and Josh takes over commentary for the rest of the night. So we see Moose talking in the back, and Moose talks about him being grand champion and how much he really enjoys being grand champion, where he's went all over the world. He's defending that. He said the times, they basically the time 3-minute periods, the 3 different rounds, they favor me. I want to take them out, but sometimes you have to just win on points. And I'm having to look behind my back because he showed the numerous things that Chris Adonis, and we've seen Eli Drake in the past attack him from behind. He said, look, I feel like I'm having to look behind my back every single time whenever since I've had this championship, which has been true. He's been attacked quite a bit since this has happened. So we cut to the back. We see the beautiful Mackenzie, excuse me. I don't know why I said Michelle. Mackenzie interviewing Eli Drake, and Eli Drake is cutting a promo on him getting his chance and against the Pritchard regime, as he calls it. And then all of a sudden, we see Moose come running in, and Moose is going to jump on him, but he's held back by security. Eli Drake starts talking trash to him, and then we see Eli Drake jumping on top of Tony Moose, jumps on top of Moose, and then him, Chris Adonis, and then eventually the referee security separates them, and we get so it looks like he challenges him next week for a grand championship match. Moose accepts, and looks like we have one for next week. So hold right there, folks, as we continue on with the show. I'll be right back. So after the whole incident with Moose and Eli Drake and Chris Adonis, it leads us into a mixed tag team matchup. We've been seeing this feud for weeks with between Davey Richards and Angelina Love, which is his wife, and against Eddie Edwards and Alicia, which is his wife. And we've seen this boil down to this mixed tag team matchup. And basically, they started brawling before they could even get to the ring. Eddie and Alicia came running down and attacking Angelina and attacking Davey Richards right from the get-go. And then once they get in the ring, Davey kind of takes control of the matchup and he starts working on the leg of Eddie Edwards, which we know Eddie was, Eddie had been dealing with that leg for quite a while, and we'd seen this going right back in his attack on it, even putting the figure 4 on at one time, which is a good shout out to Davey, to the Nature Boy Ric Flair. Now, I did have its highlights. Some of the lady, Alicia actually went on to the top at one point and jumped over and did a crossbody onto Angelina and Davey while they were on the outside. So we did see this happen, but what we see happens ends up basically Eddie's been working on with that leg. Angelina goes around and she pulls Alicia's legs from under. She ends up hitting the mat, going down on the floor, and so she's out. So then we basically see she gets out again. She goes on top and she tries to yet again do a crossbody, and she ends up missing. So then while she's out, we see that after the ladies tag in and within the ring, we basically see Alicia end up sidestepping because Angelina went to give her a boot. She missed her, and Alicia ended up rolling her up for the 1-2-3, which would be the obvious to have the women end up pinning each other rather than the guys doing it. But that's how they worked it out. But then it wasn't over with. After the end of the matchup, we seen Davey Richards basically getting not Davey Richards. He basically was tying Eddie Edwards, to handcuff him to the ring. And basically what that set up was they had brought a table into the into the ring. They set it up, and Angelina Love ended up putting Alicia through a table and then stepping on her as she went across her on the other side. So we kind of see Davey's kind of holding Eddie to make him watch every bit of his wife getting put through a table, which is going to definitely anger him. And we'll just have to look forward to next week and see what happens with this situation. So, and pardon that. Sometimes I'm not close to the road, you'll hear stuff. So, anyway, after this table, we see Rockstar Spud come out, cut a promo about basically how he went to see one of the UK doctors and he trusted the UK doctors more. And they said they would give him one more week, and then he's going to come back and get his revenge on Swoggle for him getting beat up and being in the hospital like he's been the last few weeks. And it's so funny because the promos, listen, you can hear Rockstar Spud's mom, and he says, "Kayfabe, Mom, shh." So he's like, "I'll be back next week." So and he was telling Swoggle how he'll least expect it, and he'll be the man he needs to be, and whatnot. So apparently next week is Rockstar Spud's return after being away from TV for a few weeks. Which leads us into our main event for tonight. This is the triple threat #1 contendership. Whoever wins this match will be facing Bobby Lashley at Slammiversary in July. And this looks to be a good matchup. Like I said, these guys have had a history, been a good storytelling with this feud. I thought this was a really good match. I actually enjoyed this match because it was no DQ. We've seen a lot of stuff. James Storm. We see all three guys take part in it, where James Storm would try to, for a while in the beginning, he was trying to work over both guys, trying to keep it, down to one-on-one. And I admire him for doing that because that's about the only way you can do it, is try to take it to both of them and try to work on one of them while the other one's down. So he ended up hitting, and one funny spot was when he took and he took a drink bottle and hit Magnus with it, and then he takes a water bottle, hits E3, spits it in him, and hits him again with it, which I thought was pretty good to use that. But James Storm gets abused a lot. I mean, I just feel bad because they at one point took the kendo stick. He's got beaten, and EC3 hit him with that. Magnus was trying to hit James Storm. EC3 was trying to hit James Storm again with the kendo stick. He moves out the way, hits Magnus by mistake. EC3 is apologizing. Then Magnus ends up turning, mistakenly hitting EC3. So then we see those two going out. But it all comes down to James Storm ends up trying to hit the last call kick and connects with Magnus, but then as he's behind, his back is turned, EC3 knees him in the back. He goes through the ropes, lays across. Magnus gets the 1-2-3, steals a win after a good match. This match really was pretty good. I enjoyed it. It ended up being a no DQ matchup as that. So we see next, we see that coming up at Slammiversary, it's going to be EC3, the #1 contender, taking on Bobby Lashley for the Impact Wrestling Championship. So this sets up some matches for next week, as we'll see. And as I get into it next week, we'll get more into what's going on. But it looks like we've got a good lineup with, with the finals of the Global Force Wrestling Tag Team title matchup between LAX and between VOW. We're going to see where that's going, and I'll give you my opinions on that. So I hope you folks have enjoyed the video. Like I said, I try to pump as much as I can. If you do, drop a like on the video. Like it on YouTube. And if you see it on Facebook, just click on the link, go to YouTube, just click a like, or subscribe to my channel if you haven't done that, or comment on the video if you have any comments you want to make. Feel free. If you want me to cover anything, or you're more than welcome to leave an opinion, and I'll take it to heart. So, and read it and try to do whatever I can for it. So until next time with Pro Wrestling Unleashed, this is Bill Mack saying, take it easy.